The 6 men implicated in the murder of whistleblower Babita Deokaran have been convicted and sentenced. They pleaded guilty to the crime earlier today in the High Court in Johannesburg. Deokaran was a crucial witness in the investigation into massive corruption and fraud, mainly at Tembisa Hospital. Now, tomorrow marks exactly 2 years since she was killed outside her Johannesburg South home. Now, for some reaction to the story, I'm now joined by OUTA's Wayne Duvenage, who's the CEO of OUTA. Wayne, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. You've long been calling for justice to be served. As you listened to the court outcome today, what is your immediate reaction?
Well, first of all, I think it was a fait accompli that these were the culprits that carried out the assassination. What is disturbing to us is that we still don't know who's behind the call for this assassination. It's not as if these were employees that were being implicated in the revelations coming out of Babita's work. They had no real motive to assassinate her. So somebody gave the order, and that still needs to come to the fore. And we're hoping that isn't swept under the carpet or goes missing in this process.
What action do you think still needs to happen here? I mean, you raised something very important. It's one side of the story, but it gets even more intricate.
Yeah, look, to plead guilty and receive the sentences that they will get is one thing. And I guess they had very little argument against the evidence and the facts that were obtained, fortunately, due to the vigilance of neighbors and people in the area. Otherwise, we might never even got to this situation. So that's one part of the relief that the people who have been apprehended, who pulled the trigger and who were involved in the assassination. But really, we've got to get closure on the fact that Babita's work and her diligence in uncovering corruption, not only in PPE at a national level and provincial level, but what was happening in the Tembisa Hospital. There are a number of potential players that could be behind this plot, this outcome of the assassination. Now, justice will not be served if these 6 individuals are the only people that end up behind bars for hopefully the rest of their life, or as long as possible. If the real perpetrators of these crimes get off scot-free or are not named or do not come to the fore. And there's obviously still some process that has to happen in time. But it's 2 years, as you say, 2 years tomorrow, and we still have people that have been implicated by Babita's work who are still on full pay, even though they're on suspension. Very little accountability and transparency has transpired from this matter. What does this now
speak to when it comes to Gauteng health, when it comes to the action and the delays that the action that's needed to ensure that people are held to account, and also shining a spotlight on whistleblowers and the department's role when it comes to protecting whistleblowers and really just listening so that elements of corruption are removed?
Yeah, and that's a very important question. Quite frankly, the department has been remiss, have been absolutely out of line when it comes to dealing with this matter. In the normal world, in the scheme of things, when one of your senior managers was assassinated, and that came to the fore quite quickly after her murder 2 years ago, and then good investigative journalism started to show the trail of mails and evidence, well, what would normally happen is that the individuals would be suspended, a disciplinary hearing will be held quite quickly, quite frankly, and then they would be fired with all the evidence that we've seen and read about, literally fired, and then criminal charges laid against them. None of that has happened. So when you look at the line of command above the head of health in Gauteng, then to the Premier, then to the next level of powers that be in government, right up to the President, very little has taken place in getting to the bottom of this issue. And they could, with their own investigations and their own findings, come very quickly to what has actually happened and who's behind these scenes. But none of that has happened, and they sit there waiting for an SIU report and making all the excuses. They are kicking the can down the road, and the only thing that we as the public can assume from this is that there are people in higher places that are involved, because nobody is really taking the necessary urgent and really detailed action to find out who's behind this. I mean, the many companies that have scored millions out of these deals, nothing has happened. It's quite shocking, and this is politics at play around the issue of corruption in this country.
Does it inspire any hope at all that the mastermind will definitely be found, as we know that President Cyril Ramaphosa has now assigned the SIU to probe this corruption network? I mean, 1 billion rand is not child's play when it comes to money, but people's lives, in the sense of Babita Deokaran and perhaps others we don't know of, were on the line here.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't bode well for the whole issue relating to whistleblowers who, when this type of thing happens, they really lock down and don't want to be implicated and involved in whistleblowing, so it's not good for the country. Now, the SIU might get to the bottom of it. We hope they do, but very quickly, justice delayed is justice denied. 2 years later, this money is now missing, but it's not about the money anymore. It is a lot of money. The country could do a lot with that. It's about the people that were involved. And if they are not held to account, the CEO of Tembisa Hospital, the CFO, to whom Babita reported these matters, who looked away, whose fiduciary duties were completely ignored, they need to have been fired long ago, and they need to have criminal charges laid against them. They need to go to jail if they're found guilty. And all the other companies that were skimming off this revenue flow. There's too much that has not happened to make this so glaringly obvious that the powers that be, I'm talking about the senior powers in government that be, do not want a clear accountability to flow here. Because if they did, if they were extremely concerned about the impact of corruption in this country, they would have done a lot more today. You don't have to wait for the SIU report. We're glad the SIU is looking into it. But that's not the point. In a business world, in the same labor laws that apply to business and to government, I can tell you now, as a CEO or head of a big organization, when something like this happens, it is done and dusted within a month. Those people are removed from the organization, no pay, and criminal charges should have been laid by now. It's disgusting, quite frankly, that we sit here to this day and only have the 6 people who pulled the trigger and doing the actual dirty work of the masterminds are now pleading guilty and being sentenced. This is not justice for Babita at all at this stage.
Yeah. Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in and giving us your reaction there. OUTA CEO Wayne Duvenage giving us his, of course, reaction to the 6 accused there being sentenced in the Babita Deokaran matter. We will